Sophie Labelle is the cartoonist behind the Assigned Male comic, and she is an internationally renowned visual artist. I've just been hearing that, yes, she's from the South Shore of Montreal, but she's currently living in Finland. She's a transgender cartoonist and a webcomic about a group of queer and trans teenagers that have been running since 2014 and has touched millions of readers. She's also the author of a number of books, which she'll tell us more about when she gets up front. So she will talk about her experience growing up transgender, her work as a cartoonist, and also, unfortunately, about cyberbullying. So please join me in welcoming Sophie Labelle.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm very privileged and honored to have been invited to talk to you tonight about my work, about all the silly things that go through my mind, because I have a very short-term memory and a very short attention span. I'm sorry about that. And as you said, you're free to ask any question while I talk. You're free to add any comment or participate to the discussion. I asked Aaron at the last minute to be here up front with me, just so that you get more of a discussion vibe like that. And so yeah, I'm Sophie. I draw comics. And I'm currently on a Canadian tour. This was part of the Canadian tour, of course. And how it got together was that I was on a U.S. tour, okay, last fall, and I spent several years getting messages from American readers. Most of my readers are from the United States. And I did most of my tours elsewhere in the world before going to the United States. People were very confused. They were like, how come you never come here to the United States? And I was like, just kind of waiting for things to get better. Things didn't get better, but that's why I ended up doing that tour. There was just a point last year where I was like, all right, well, I guess I should do a tour now before the entire country is burnt to the ground. So that happened. I went on that US tour, and as soon as I announced it, I think people aren't aware that I'm actually Canadian, because I started getting messages from people that were like, would you mind coming just a little bit higher up north to Canada? And I was like, I can come here anytime. Anyway, they really wanted a tour, so I announced a tour, and yeah, eventually ended up here in Victoria, I guess. It's not my first time on the island, but it's my first time doing a public event on Vancouver Island. This is it. This is my Vancouver Island baptism. I've already been touring for 2 weeks now in this Canadian tour, and the tour ends at the beginning of May. It takes a long time to ride my bicycle between cities. Just kidding. Just kidding. There's a little motor on my bicycle. No, just kidding. There's no roads here anyway. I actually lived in the Yukon for a while, and I got used to riding the Greyhound from Montreal to the Yukon several times a year. And so planning my tour, I had in mind that there was transportation in BC. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I ended up flying from Vancouver to Kelowna. How absurd is that? Anyway, that's an actual issue. I think, especially for communities that are outside urban centers. I don't have a driver's license. I'm one of those queers. You see that stereotypical queers who don't have a driver's license. It is I. But yeah, so I'll still be in BC for a couple of days before going to the Yukon and then to Alberta and to the Northwest Territories and working my way back to the East Coast. And And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the evening tonight. And yeah, what should I tell them about? We've been chatting for 2 hours now, and so I feel like I already told Aaron about everything, but
Well, tell them about how you became
yeah.
a comic artist.
I'm a comic artist. So I draw comics, and I've been drawing assigned male comics since 2014, like you mentioned. But back then it was more of a hobby, mostly, while I was studying. And I was studying to become an elementary school teacher. It's kind of my dark secret. Okay? It's my dark past. I wasn't assigned cartoonist at birth. My job assigned at birth was actually to become an elementary school teacher, which is the thing my parents pushed me to become. Every time I would tell them I would grow up to be a cartoonist, they would just be like, endeared and being like, ha ha ha, that's not even a real job. My parents still struggle with that. Every time I go back home to Montreal, my mom is like, so when are you gonna get the real job? Or like, usually it's more like, when are you going back to school? And every time I have to explain to her again that even though I was born in a teacher's body, I have a cartoonist brain, and she still struggles because I didn't have all the surgeries to be a full cartoonist. Especially since I'm drawing webcomics, even in cartoonist communities, they don't see webcomic artists as being biologically cartoonists. It's tragic. Anyway, but I've always, had this in me. I've always expressed myself through comics. Even when I was a child, I was dressing up as a cartoonist, and I started drawing comics when I was 7. That's when I came out really as a cartoonist. Mostly to like a lot of cartoonists do, to annoy my siblings. So my older brother started a comic club where with his best friend, where they were mostly just drawing the adventures of their 5th grade teachers. But I really wanted to be part of that comic club, and so that's how I started drawing the adventures of my older brother's 5th grade teachers. And that actually lasted like 6 years. I never met them, these teachers.
They were in 5th grade for 6 years?
Well, at a point, the characters from these comics just had nothing to do with the actual teachers. They just became something else completely. They just had their names, I guess. And but the thing is that they became really popular back then. And if you read Assigned Male, you might have noticed that I'm hyper-productive. I have this thing happening where I just produce a lot of material, and very quickly I became the most productive member of that comic club without ever meeting these teachers the comics were about. But they became really big in my hometown. I'm from a very small town, okay, to my defense. But people started, stopping me in the street and were asking me, are you that kid who draws these comics? And it was very validating since I identified as a cartoonist. And I was like, actually, yeah. And yeah, that was very great for my self-esteem, because back then I had been diagnosed with a severe case of the genders. My parents took me to see several experts and doctors, and everybody was just like, oh, that's a lot of gender going on there, and my mom was just wondering if it was hormones and stuff like that, and I just remembered that one doctor who just told her, Miss, I just think your child is very gay. So I was getting bullied a lot at school for for the gender situation, and yeah, I used comics as a way to cope, but also as a survival tool. I mean, the same kid who would call me a fag in the schoolyard would then ask me for drawings, and so these comics have really helped me go through school, go through just childhood in general, and at a point they even made it that they ended up making me transition when I was 13, and that's when I met my first trans friends on DeviantArt. DeviantArt, which is an online art social network, kind of. It's an art community online where 13-year-old weeaboos go to post terrible yaoi fan art. Which is why I was there. Oh my god. I also have an account on fanfiction.net. My haters haven't found it yet. I kind of like the thrill, you know? Just this day when my haters will find my fanfiction account. But yeah, on DeviantArt, that's when I met my first trans friend. I told you I'm from a very small town, and to this day I'm still the only out trans person in that town. So every time there's a trans issues in the news, the local newspaper calls me. I haven't lived there in like 20 years. But yeah, I met that trans friend online, and we just, spent several weeks talking, and at a point she was just like, you know what, I get this vibe from you that you might maybe be trans. And I was like, me? What is it? Is it the dress? It was kind of the dress. It gave pretty good hints, But yeah, I was just like, come on, I'm a trans. Okay, maybe I am. I came out the next day on LiveJournal, which is Facebook for emos, basically. So this is turning into internet history class. Sorry about that. But from then on, as soon as I came out, suddenly my older brother's 5th grade teachers kind of were too straight for me. It was hard, being out and drawing the adventures of, a bunch of cis and straight characters, and that was too much for me. Not that I'm a cisphobe, okay? Let's put that clear right away. I am not a cisphobe. Although, on the internet, I have this strong reputation of cisphobia, mostly because I get this reputation mostly because in my comics, most of the transphobes happen to be cis. But it's just a coincidence. I'm not a cisphobe. In fact, both of my parents are cis. You're learning all sorts of stuff about me tonight. Both my parents are cis. They're very active in the cis community. I just think it's so inspirational that, people get assigned a gender at birth and they just keep it. So great. Anyway, I really, after coming out, I really wanted to create characters in which I could see myself without having this documentary feel that you get every time there's a trans character on screen. We're either villains in the movies or wildlife documentary subjects. Every time there's like a trans character that arrives in a movie or in a book, it's always for the cause. It's always to educate and enlighten the rest of humanity, and it always ends up sounding like, here's a trans person in their natural environment. See how they gather hormones for the winter. It's a library here. But it was really an issue growing up, and every time that I saw trans people on TV, it was always, under with this very otherizing gaze that you get whenever who you are becomes this subject of knowledge. You can't just be like everything you do becomes educational. I see so many of these articles where they all sound like this photographer captures what it's really like to be really trans, and it's just like trans person eating cereal. And it's just so weird. People call my work educational a lot, but most of it is just terrible puns. And then people are like, so is this your real life? And I'm just like, it's a pun. It's just a pun. And they're like, so which character represents you the most? It's just a pun. No, there's not only bad puns, there's also a lot of sarcasm. But yeah, I feel that as soon as I was out as trans, I've been working on what eventually became Assigned Male, in the sense that I just had these cycles as an artist where I spend six entire weeks working heart and soul into a project and then throwing everything away after 6 weeks, telling myself it's crap. And then starting all over again, and I just feel it's just been these cycles, but with the same archetypes vaguely, and it ended up being Assigned Male. When I started Assigned Male 4 years ago, I had a lot to vent about. I spent several years before that doing activism. I was working closely with trans communities in Montreal. I was also working with trans youth. And the year that preceded the creation of Assigned Male, I organized a summer camp for trans and intersex youth in Montreal. And it was the first time in French-Canadian media where they really, noticed that trans adults were once children. Who would have known? Who would have known? And so for an entire year before that camp happened, I was invited on TV sets, on the radio, gave so many interviews almost every week in a different media. And I got very jaded from the work that I've been doing as an activist before that. Got very bitter. I just saw how much the work that we were doing in trans communities was just constantly being undone by the media, and I got very upset. I got very upset how much the media were manipulating the narratives of trans people, especially trans youth. I saw live, I saw by my own eyes how journalists will just re-ask the same questions over and over again until they find the right thing they want to hear, and we're not in control of the way the media talk about trans narratives, and that made me really upset. And so when I started these comics, I had a lot to vent about, of course, and I mostly started them to entertain my trans friends at school. Not that I don't have any cis friends, okay, we went over this. But yeah, it was mostly just for trans friends in Montreal, and very quickly they asked me to translate them in English because they had friends in the rest of Canada who didn't speak a word of French. I see you. I see your guilty faces in the audience. So that's how I ended up translating them in English, and now that's really, of course, the version that got a lot of visibility. Since ironically English is now the lingua franca. But yeah, I was just drawing these comics while studying, and it got completely out of hands. At a point, one morning, I think it was in October 2014, I just woke up and I had a lot of notifications on social media of people tagging me on TERF articles. So TERFs, you've heard about them, stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Fuckers. This is going in the archive, right?
No censorship. It's going to get edited. No. You'll get edited.
So TERFs, they're the people who believe that trans women are tools of the patriarchy to invade women-only spaces. You know, they always say that like it's a full-time thing. For most of us, it's just a hobby. There's an amount of time you can spend in the washroom. Let's face it. But yeah, suddenly, you know, these comics I was doing were tools of the government to turn kids trans, and I was just like, whoa, cool. That was powerful. I felt like, you know, I could crush entire civilization. Just the way they were talking about my work, I felt like, you know, that I was holding on something that struck a sensitive chord into my haters. And so that gave me a lot of confidence to keep doing it, of course, since it was making the right people react a lot. You don't want TERFs to like you, let's face it.
Yeah.
Let's face it. And so I was glad they noticed my work. And yeah, from that point, it got noticed by a lot of people that I was making these people very upset, and yeah, it just kept on growing so much that I eventually decided to quit school to draw more comics, which was my mom's dream, that one of her children quit school to draw comics. And that was my dramatic water sipping. And yeah, I eventually quit my job to draw more comics. I was working part-time as an elementary school teacher back then. And it was great because I got that job from the work I was doing with trans youth. One of the teachers there had a trans child, and yeah, I needed a place to do an internship, and eventually started working part-time there, just so that the several trans kids that were at that school would have someone to go to if there was ever anything happening. And it was kind of funny because TERFs, they gathered all the info they could on me, you know, and they found out I was working at that school. And so one morning the principal told me she got a call from somebody who told her that a dangerous trans activist was working there, and she was just like, yeah, that's why we hired her. TERFs. And so yeah, I quit that job. I also quit, you know, activism. I was active in various groups in Montreal, and yeah, just dedicated myself to drawing. I really had to step up my technique. I never studied drawing. The only art degree I have was in sewing. And yeah, that's how I ended up here, I guess. Fast forward a couple of years, and yeah, since then, you know, I made the groups of haters more varied. So now I also have neo-Nazis. I have the alt-right, Truscoms, and all these people. Just kidding. I also have a lot of actual readers. Even though sometimes I do believe that my haters are my most dedicated readers, they were there for me since the beginning, and I can count on them anytime I need them. Whenever I'm out of inspiration, I just Google my name, They're a gold mine. They're a comedy gold mine. Every time I go on these forums, I'm like, yes, that's exactly the things the people like you say. Anyway, I use their material a lot in my comics. I'm a bit ashamed of how much I steal from them, but they just got the best stuff all the time. I get a lot of inspiration also from discussions I have with other trans people. That's actually where most of my inspiration for my comics come from. Every time I talk with other trans people, I'm constantly taking my sketchbook and be like, just like earlier with your joke about the rainbow crosswalk. We were talking about how it was very performative. And how sometimes there's performative actions and also concrete actions, and sometimes like the rainbow crosswalk, it's both. You told it in a better way though. They liked it. You're gonna get quoted on that. You're gonna get the credit. But so yeah, a lot of my comics are inspired by discussions I have with other trans people, also meme groups on the internet, and yeah, of course, as I briefly mentioned at the beginning, my work is meant to educate. That was never my intention when I started the comics. Of course, a lot of people saw it that way, since there was trans people in a comic, so it must be through educating on trans people, on the struggles and plight of being trans. In fact, no, I'm just constantly being sarcastic in my comics, and it's just weird how people feel educated simply with me telling them that their questions are shitty. Seriously, that's like half of my comics. It's just the characters being like, I'm not answering this, and people feel educated. They're like, oh, I never saw it that way. I never realized how much my questions were shitty. It's something we need to tell people. They seriously don't get told that a lot. In the media, we're used to constantly see trans people under the spotlight, answering questions all the time, and if they don't answer the questions, well, they'll just get edited at the montage, and then we constantly get this feeling that trans people are entirely there for our entertainment, in the sense that they're gonna provide us with the knowledge, and they're gonna enlighten us on a post-gender society and stuff like that, and yeah, and then they feel educated with my comics, where my characters are actively not answering questions. So it's kind of funny, I think, how people perceive my comic this way. Although every time I post a new comic, it's mostly just a joke, and people are like, "Thank you for educating us." And I'm just in the corner with my other trans friends, and we're like giggling. But I guess just changing the tone, just getting rid of that educational intent makes it a lot easier for people to relate to trans people. When they're so used to see us as wildlife documentary subjects, it surprisingly humanizes us, and so by not being educational, it makes it educational in a sense, I guess. But yeah, that really wasn't the intent at the beginning. I really wanted to create something for trans people, something, that would be empowering for trans people. Do you have any question, Victoria? I want to take a sip of coffee. Victoria doesn't have any question. Okay, I'll bounce to you. Do you have any question for me, Aaron?
Tell us about your books.
What? No, wait.
Okay. I guess there's some questions that are wrong.
I never said all questions were good. It's like the whole point of my comic.
You're going to answer that?
Oh my God. Well, usually I use the books as a segue to the signing session,
Okay, we can save them.
Okay, tell us about who your readers are, other than the haters.
Who my readers are other than my haters. Well, of course, my target audience is trans people themselves, which is very rare. Every time there's a movie or a book about trans characters, it's never because there's trans people in the audience. It's always for the cause. Even we never asked for that. We never asked for that. But then there's so many people who just feel like that they wake up in a morning and they must save trans people from themselves. And that's how we end up with all these movies that we never wanted, and even when we disapprove them, people tell us that we should be grateful and that we should be glad that they're even doing that for us, even though we never asked for that. But so yeah, my target audience is trans people first and foremost. And I mean, it's okay if you're trans and you don't like my comics. I don't mind. People use that against me. They're like, well, I know a trans person who doesn't like your comics. It's really hard, okay, to be part of a marginalized group and to get an ounce of visibility, and then suddenly you become a spokesperson for the entire cause. I was never voted here, and nobody elected me to be the cartoonist of the trans community. Although this is how I often get explained to people. They're like, this is a cartoonist who explains to you what it's like to be trans, and I'm like, no. I'm not explaining what it's like to be trans to anyone. Actually, I mentioned the lack of educational intent in my comics. Well, that also goes with the fact that I never, if very rarely, talk about my characters' transition in my comics. You don't see them transitioning. They're just trans, and they don't need to come out. I don't show their coming out or their transition at any point, and that was deliberate. I just didn't want that to become the focus of the thing, because usually in the media that's what people will focus on, and being trans will just be reduced to people's transition. But transition happens, and then there's other things in life in general. But when we look at documentaries on trans people, it's usually just that's pretty much all our lives are made of. We're just constantly transitioning. There's some moments in my day where I'm not actively transitioning. I mean, every human is transitioning throughout their whatever bullshit. You get what I'm saying? So I write with trans people in mind, and of course, if you're not trans, it's okay. You can still read my comics. I don't mind. You can also buy my books. I was looking at the camera.
Afterwards.
Yeah, don't start.
Don't leave right away.
There's a lot of people who will read my comics because they know trans people, and they, it's like when I was a child, I liked to see my friends in the things I was reading, in the stories I was reading. It felt real. I think a lot of people find that in my comics. So that's something I'm very proud of. And then I get so many messages that are like, I transitioned after reading your comics. I'm just like, yes, the propaganda worked. TERFs were right all along. It's just so incredible to have access to a platform that allows you to reach the most marginalized people in our communities. That's why it's very important for me to keep everything I make free of access on the internet. So it's a very weird marketing plan in the sense that everything I make, I just throw it out there on the internet. I think it's a very generational thing where people trust me with that content. I mostly just pay my rent with donations that people give me to be able to keep everything free like that. So all the content that's in my books is on the internet, so why would you even buy my book? I don't know. But yeah, coming from a small town, for me it's very important to make sure that as many people as possible have access to these comics, and yeah, I think that's who I'm writing for. Of course, I try to fill a need that I felt growing up, trying to find characters that would resemble me a little bit, and I feel that most of my work has been that, mostly just trying to create material that my younger self would have enjoyed. So that's what I have in mind when I write.
Have you gotten any type of backlash from even the queer community as well? Like, trans exclusionary members of the queer community, have they also reached out to you, like TERFs or, right, or, like kind of become detractors of your work?
The question was if I also got backlash from members of the queer community. Well, I mentioned Truscums, which are people who believe that non-binary people don't exist, that they're just a view of our imagination, and that transness is a sickness that you must be diagnosed with to be able to claim the word trans and terrible stuff like that, with which I entirely disagree. And I got a lot of backlash from these groups, who are often very active on Tumblr, just simply for having gender non-conforming characters and for having intersex characters, and it's been kind of terrible, the kind of backlash I got, not even from being non-binary myself, just from having non-binary characters in my comics. It's kind of intense, and the alt-right will use that a lot also, but it also comes from trans communities themselves. And that's one of the reasons why it's very important for me to mention that I'm not the voice of the trans community. It's really weird for me that people could say that about my work, or that it's representative of transness or anything, because we're a very very diverse group of people, of course. I don't get that much backlash from cis queer communities because they usually just don't even notice I'm there. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But they just don't notice. Even though a lot of my characters are cis and gay and queer, because it deals with trans stuff, they just entirely ignore it sometimes. Yeah, it kind of saddens me in some ways. Anyway, the characters are gonna grow up and then they'll start clubbing, I guess. Ouch.
You talked about being a science teacher at birth and transitioning to a comic. Have you ever considered transitioning further to stand-up comedy?
Oh, I'm right into it, actually. This is already what I'm doing.
Sit down comic.
Yeah, no, it's the best kind. It's the best kind. But stand-up comedy, elementary school teacher. I'm not saying that's why I went into teaching at first, but pretty much. No, actually, the main reason why I decided to go into elementary school teaching was that it would allow me to have a captive audience. There was just this moment where they were like, "Oh my God, what did you just say?" But when I was teaching at a school before studying into teaching, before the school I told you about, I also spent several years teaching in the Yukon, and that's really where I discovered myself an interest for storytelling, to tell anecdotes in front of an audience. It's really what I'm into. And actually, before comics, what I really like about my work is the storytelling part. So that's how I ended up, writing children's books, novels, doing these talks. Most cartoonists, are huge introverts. And usually they see me go and they're just like, what the heck? They don't understand what I'm doing, They don't understand why I would seek out, talking in front of an audience, because that's what cartoonists are. I'm the weird mix between a cartoonist and a theater kid. So yeah, that's what happened here. Do you have more questions, Victoria?
Okay, I'll ask you another question. Do you have trans role models or heroes or trans folks that you really look up to that inspire you?
Of course, I have a lot of them. Yeah, I was just monitoring the time. When I was doing activism, I looked up to Janet Mock and Laverne Cox a lot. They're the two people who really, gave me confidence to have an empowering message about transness, about trans bodies, and that definitely influenced my work a lot. Also, the work of Leslie Feinberg and Susan Stryker really gave me a lot of perspective on trans communities and what it meant to be trans today in relation to the past, and gave me a sense of of broader perspective, I guess. So these were very important for me. That's about it. In terms of comics, I must say that the person who influenced me the most wasn't trans herself, but had a trans character in her comics, Alison Bechdel, who wrote Dice to Watch Out For, and she said of Dice to Watch Out For that it was meant to be an encyclopedia for the use of lesbian communities. And that really inspired me a lot for Assigned Male, in the sense that, I just wanted to show trans characters and to allow people to see themselves in these characters, and just, create characters and tell stories about characters that resembles us. That's really what I wanted to do with my comics, so that gave it a very defined trajectory, I guess. Also, one of her graphic novels, Fun Home, was adapted into a musical, and that's kind of my career achievement dream. People ask me, what's next for me, and I'm just like, I want to make a musical. I'm really into musicals. And so yeah, that's a bunch of people.
Okay, and I was
guess.
going to ask you what's next. So musical is next. Stand-up comic and music.
No, well, I'd like to write more novels. I've been writing them lately. They're published in French, if you read French.
Victoria.
Well, Victoria, that's where all the hippie Quebecers come after they're done picking cherries. I'm allowed to say that, okay? I'm one myself. Not a cherry picker, but a Quebecer. Anyway. I get so many questions about my accent everywhere in the world, and sometimes I'm just like, oh yeah, it's Scottish. and then you get like Hungarian people and they're like, okay. Funny. Here I can't really hide it, but then in the United States I just get to say, oh yeah, that's how Canadian people talk, and they buy it. There's a bunch of them, and with who I also had the privilege to work a lot. Having the kind of visibility that I have, it's really great to just have the opportunity to create links with people, to put people together. And I actually published a coloring book last year with guest drawings from other trans cartoonists from all over the world. It was a lot of fun to work with all these people. I like the work of, of course, of local legend Sabrina Symington, who's from Victoria. Sabrina Symington, Life of Bria, if that rings a bell. Hello World, it's Eli. I love that guy. Sam Orchard, an artist in New Zealand. Laurier Richard, a French artist who draws really wonderful and beautifully illustrated stories online. And yeah, if you look on my page, I share these people's work a lot on my personal page. Or maybe they just have a YouTube channel where they play Minecraft on and they get death threats. It's a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Minecraft.
Yeah, it's very popular. It's just like videos of people playing games, and the kids watch that nowadays.
Minecraft. Death threats in Minecraft.
Yeah. It's a reality for a lot of kids. Not just the bullying at school, which has been researched extensively, but cyber harassment as well. I experienced both, and I can totally see the continuity from one to another. Sometimes, there's just strategies that they use that, I saw it happen when I was in elementary school, and yeah, I have to deal with that shit. And personally, I take a lot of naps. That's oh my god, that's a bad advice. Usually when I feel overwhelmed, I just take a nap. That's what happens. And then I make comics about it. I use art to cope a lot, to vent and to heal, of course. But to make sure that these kids have strong support networks, that they feel supported and trusted, is usually the best way to go, I guess. There's no easy solution to bullying. Making sure that there's safe spaces for them. During my tour, I visit a lot of GSAs all around the country, and it's just so wonderful to have these spaces in schools where kids aren't expected to perform anything, you know, and that you know, just having a group like that at school, so facilitating spaces that are, you know, openly accepting, I think it would help a lot of people. It's one of my greatest regrets in life. You know, I was one of the only out queer people in my secondary school, and one of the teachers actually approached me to, you know, create a GSA at my school, and I was already bullied a lot, and I didn't feel like taking that up on my shoulders, but I wish that would have existed when I was there. So, yeah, creating spaces, I guess. So you want to hear about my books?
Sure.
Well, I brought a bunch of comics. So I have the classic nice gender, did your mom pick it out for you? I have dating tips for trans and queer weirdos here, which is also known as the neo-Nazi book. Yeah, I know. It's my cutest book ever, okay? It's about my character, Ciel, who wants to ask their crush on a date. And yeah, it literally starts with a picture of a puppy. Anyway, the neo-Nazi book. 2 years ago, I was the target of a very vast harassment campaign on the internet from 4chan. I don't know if you've heard of them. I wasn't the main target at first. They were just targeting random trans groups and trans people on the internet, and I just have very intense readers who decided to retaliate and managed to get their 30,000 members group closed and deleted by Facebook. And so they in return decided to retaliate against me, and during that 1 week, sent me like over 17,000 death threats and hate comments. Anyway, it was pretty intense.
How do you find the strength to move past that?
I'm getting there.
More naps.
More naps? No, well, what happened during that 1 week was that I was launching this book, Dating Tips for Trans and Queer Weirdos, which isn't a dating guide, by the way. Do not take any dating advices from me, please. Most of these advices are just about spiders. Anyway, but I was launching that book during that 1 week in Halifax, and you've been to Halifax? A bunch of you? Okay, no. Well, I'm just back from the United States, so usually I tell them, they don't know where Halifax is, of course, so I tell them to just start from Boston, you know where Boston is, you know, American people don't. Just kidding. And you start from Boston and you just drive along the coast until you get into the void. You know, once you're surrounded by the void, that's when you're in Halifax. Ouch! But anyway, so
we don't drive that far. Okay.
So I was in Halifax for the book launch of Dating Tips for Trans and Queer Weirdos, and as my plane landed, I suddenly got all my messages because it was in flight mode, and it was the organizers who decided to cancel the event after they received too many death threats. And so I was there in Halifax with nothing to do. You don't want to be in Halifax with nothing to do, okay? And so I just decided to call my good friends, the journalists, and just tell them what happened and how sad I was about the book launch. And So I met with a bunch of them, and they were just flipping through my books, and they were like, "This is the cutest book I've ever seen," and you got death threats for that. It's the zoom in on the puppy picture that did it. Anyway, the story ended up on the front page of most major Canadian newspaper the next day, and I sold out of the book in 3 days. So that's basically how I deal with haters. You wanted to know. Yeah, every time there's big things like that happening, I usually just take screenshots of everything and send that to the papers, and they love it. They love it. And so I decided very early on, I told you about the turfs and everything. I decided very early on to make them part of the adventure. Like saying it that way. And yeah, I have very intense stalkers. I have entire forums dedicated to hate me. I have my own subreddit, okay, dedicated to hate me. And I'm very proud of that. I just keep bragging about my subreddit. Again, they make up the most amazing things about me. The conspiracy theories you hear about me, it's just phenomenal. Seriously, the most popular one that I constantly see it everywhere. If I just stumble on someone who shared one of my comics or a Facebook page who shared one of my comics, and then suddenly in the comments there's random people who are like, "Oh, I heard she's not really trans, that she's just doing it so she can make comics about it." Anyway, I see that like almost every day. People who believe this is just a very elaborate scheme just so I can make comics.
It's working.
But that's where all the money is, trans comics.
For sure.
Anyway.
Tell us about the rest of the book.
What?
Tell us about some
Are we running out of time? No? I have more conspiracy theories to tell you about. How long do you want us?
You can go for a little longer, sure.
Yeah. It's just so weird. People just assume because I am trans and my characters are trans, they just assume that my comics are autobiographical. They just assume it, while nothing is telling that. Nothing would lead you to believe that, I am a character in my comics or something. They just, I just keep reading. People are saying that, oh yeah, this artist, tells her life as a transgender girl, and she's sharing her own experience through comics, and I'm like, nope. It's just puns. It's just anyway. But then there's all these people amongst my haters who decided to take that take that very literally, and they're like, they're saying that I'm pretending to be a 14-year-old just so that I could make comics about that, and that's really weird. I'm just wondering if they get upset at night just thinking about the fact that the creator of Garfield isn't really an orange cat. Jim David, you liar. That must be the most absurd one. But then half of the internet actually believes that I'm 14. No, seriously, I get messages almost weekly from people that are like, "You draw so well for your age." I take it as a compliment. I also get messages that are like, "Your mommy must be so proud of you." You must have seen the cover of the National Geographic where there was this trans 9-year-old. She had pink hair, okay?
What did I do?
Oh my god. I got so many messages that were like, congratulations for your cover. National Geographic. And that was kind of funny. Oh my god. I actually worked with that kid, and just thinking that people actually believe it was me is just so weird. But it speaks a lot about how trans people are so otherized that, we don't have access to fiction unless, we're talking about our own experience. It has to be autobiographical. We just don't have access to society's imaginary universe, So yeah, it's just so weird that people just assume that everything a trans person does is autobiographical. Speaks a lot about that. Oh yeah, my books. Okay. Unless you have more questions. Yes. You have to keep that question on the video. Because,
No, the answer will stay on the video.
It's just that video segment is just, yes. But I don't do it with the intent of challenging their views. That's the thing. I grew up being very gender non-conforming myself, and as I mentioned earlier, the work I do it with the intent of creating material that I would have enjoyed myself, and so that's just it. I just think that our existence itself challenges these people's views, so it's kind of a given that what my characters are gonna say will upset them because it's not made to be palatable to them. As I mentioned, I'm not creating educational intent. I don't want to dilute my what I say. Oh my god, it was neither of them. So sometimes when I don't know a word in English, I just try to use a French word with an English accent. Usually it works. And I just sound very fancy, like some kind of 18th century aristocrat, like using archaic words. But yeah, I think that's what makes them upset. Just our existence and the fact that we dare to exist without explanation. People get very upset with the fact that we might not want to constantly explain ourselves to people, and also there's been a lot of interest in the media recently for researches on the origins of transness in the individuals, and they're very popular. We like to give explanations as to why we're there, almost to the point where we're apologizing for being there. We're constantly like, oh, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. It's like connections in my brain when I was in the womb, and it's kind of comforting when it's so hard to be proud of one's transness. It's so hard to just be unapologetically trans in our society that we need to find comfort in that kind of stuff. But yeah, having comics which are meant to empower trans people is, I think, very revolutionary in itself, and the way that people react to my comics, I see it every day, that it challenges their views just to have proud trans characters. It's so sad how little things can take such big proportions. Well, here I have another comic. Another comic is called Help, Everything in My Life's Turning Gay. I wrote it for one of my exes who was a cis straight guy whose entire life turned gay because of me. Sorry. Oh my god. Also have my latest comic book. It's called We Won't Be Erased. It features all the great comics. And I also have a sticker sheet with some gay stuff on it. So literally, it says some gay stuff. And even more gay stuff, actually. And then laughs in gay. With cis tears and hetero tears all over. Anyway, the good stuff. I have my children's book. It's called My Dad Thinks I'm a Boy. The goal with that book was to create something that, as I mentioned, wasn't explaining transness necessarily, but was aiming at empowering trans and gender non-conforming youth. And I wrote it mostly to flip the script on this popular narrative you'll hear in most media dealing with trans kids in general, where usually the parents are framing it as the kid being delusioned, while usually it's the parent who's like living in a fantasy world where their kid isn't acting like they should according to this idea they have of their child. And so that's how we get like Steffi's dad throwing tantrums at the store, stuff like that. And there's bugs all over the book that have been designed by trans kids. Some of them from a trans kid on Vancouver Island. Ooh, local. I brought it in several languages because right now I'm launching the Swedish version of it, so I had to carry Swedish versions of it in my package, in my bags, to be able to ship them to people ordering it. So min pappa tror att jag har en pojke. Sorry, was my Swedish that bad?
The shrug is just universal.
French accent or English on your Swedish?
Oh my god, I don't know. It's all confused now. My Spanish is better. Mi padre cree que soy un chico. That's the Spanish version of the same book. And in Basque, I don't know how to pronounce Basque at all, so I just brought it to show you, basically. If you want it, you feel free to take it. Also have an older children's book. It's called A Girl Like Any Other. I started self-publishing mostly when I was teaching because my colleagues were asking me for resources about trans stuff that was empowering in French. And so there was just nothing, and I published this children's book in 2012, and so that was 7 years ago, and so there wasn't a lot of stuff in English back then, and so just imagine in French. It was basically one of the first books about trans kids being published in French, and it was self-published, so yeah.
All right. One last question.
Maybe. I mean, I won't produce it myself. People are actually, it's a question I get a lot. People want to see cartoons of my comics, and they're like, oh, you could put them on YouTube, you could make them all yourself and just draw every single sequence of a 30-minute show. I don't. As I said, my favorite thing about my work is the storytelling part, and so I like to create more stories, and so working on animation or a movie, I see the point, of course, but it wouldn't be my decision. It wouldn't be like my doing to make it happen. I think if there's such a thing ever happening, it might be more from my novels, actually, which are more complete stories. You know, my comics, they're web comics based in social media, and I make sure on every page that I publish online that anyone stumbling on that page will be able to understand basically what's happening, basically who the characters are, without knowing anything else about my comics. So every situation that I depict in my comics has to be very, you know, superficial, very easy to understand. And so that's how I end up with very strong plot lines, like these two characters are playing video games and having a discussion. These two characters are going to the mall. This character is babysitting a kid. That's all. That's all that happens in my That's it. I must say that I was largely influenced as a child. My entire imaginary universe is based off the Babysitter's Club. Seriously. That was my thing growing up, the Babysitter's Club. And have you read it? Have you read that? It's just very daily, boring teenage drama. And I thrived in that. Growing up, you know, I just wanted a trans version of that. And that's kind of, you know, I'm just living the dream with these comics. I'm just talking about the most boring situations. And yeah, I'm having the time of my life, but it makes very poor movies. Have you seen the Babysitter's Club movie? Don't. Anyway, I'm scared that if there's ever a movie made from my comics, that would end up being so boring. But my novels, though, there's more stuff happening in there. And I'm really glad I got this opportunity. It was actually a publisher that approached me to write a novel series based on my comics, short story. Long story short, it was at this birthday party. It was one of my best friends, and yeah, one of her friends just decided to rant about pride and about, you know, why are these gays flaunting it like that, and you know, I was just in my corner sipping my my very sugary drink, and at a point when it was done, I was just like. And I just, you know, broke him. And everybody was just silent until I got back in my seat and started sipping my drink again. And that's how I made friends with another one of my friends' friends, who at the end of the evening added me on Facebook, and we didn't talk to each other for like 10 years until she messaged me a year and a half ago being like, hey, do you want to write a series? I'm now a publisher at this kick-ass publishing house. Anyway, that's how I ended up writing novels. Fantastic. Aaron just wants to be out of here.
I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to come up and talk with you one-on-one and to purchase some books. So I'm going to ask everybody to give us a round of applause, and then Mob.